There comes a time in just about every entrepreneur's life where you will be faced with a decision between one value that you hold to be important to you and another value, and they are now conflicting of each other. What do you do in those situations, and how do you make the best decision? Well, this just came up in my specific business last week, and we're going to talk about what those two values were, what the situation was, what the result of it all was, and ultimately some takeaways that you can have for maybe a situation you may be going through. All right, so let's set the stage. In my specific situation, the two values that I was having to prioritize one over the other was either being a person of my word and showing my team that I am someone that they can trust as a leader, or upholding a high standard of excellence, even if that means going back on my word. All right, let's go ahead and share this story so that you actually have context on the pros and cons of each situation, and ultimately for you to understand why I made the decision that I made. If you're new around here, my specific company is called paidevents.com, and we help coaches, other experts, and consultants. We help them host these virtual events, these paid virtual events where they can sell tickets and they can get as many of their ideal customers to attend one of these events as possible. And then we'll even teach them how to structure out your content and then ultimately enroll your ticket purchasers or your attendees of your event, enroll them into some sort of a higher paying package with you. Usually those packages are priced somewhere between, anywhere from $5,000 all the way up to even $20,000, $25,000. Now that you have context on what we do, for this specific situation, we are hosting our own virtual event because we do like to practice what we preach around here. And we do that for two different reasons, okay? Reason number one is that it works, okay? We have actually used this specific method or one of these specific strategies to actually grow our business and continue to enroll new clients. It's a fantastic way to attract perfect fit clients because they get to know, like, and trust you before they ever officially start doing business with you on a higher ticket level. And the second reason we do them is because we do like to actually show our clients that we practice what we preach. Sometimes, especially in the coaching space or the education space, someone will tell their clients to do one thing, even though they're doing something else to actually grow their business. And I don't want to be that type of a person. We do have multiple ways where we acquire clients, but I like to show my clients that we practice what we preach because ultimately I think there's just an added layer of trust there. So with our specific situation last week that had arisen, we are planning for our next virtual event. Now, we've hosted these before. They work beautifully. We like them a lot. And we have the same overall structure we use every single time we rehost this event. However, we were making some changes this time. And the changes that we were going to be making were specifically in what I'd be teaching and, what would be on day one versus day two. And, should we do a day three, et cetera. And based on those changes, that would mean that the sales page would need to be updated for, what's selling tickets. And then that would also mean that all of the automations for the emails, like the email copy leading up to the event, those would need to be changed as well. And then also, just because we were changing the dates for this new event, we also needed to change all of the automation dates and when things were going to be sending out. And the last part of this that we have to change is ads, right? Every single time you rerun these events, you typically want to re-record new ads. And if you've been following Andromeda's best practices, which is, Meta's platform, Andromeda is the newest ad update, and it really prioritizes that you have at least 20, maybe even 25 videos in a specific campaign when you launch it, which for me meant that I needed to go record a bunch of new videos, get those edited, and get those on over to our media buyer. So in our case, we like to run ads for 3 weeks to sell tickets for the event, and then we like to host the event. Okay, and I had told my team a couple weeks prior that we were going to be hosting the event on the specific dates in February. And based on those dates, that meant that we actually needed to launch our ads this past Monday. And due to honestly just a crazy schedule in January, lots of travel, lots of speaking, and just a lot of moving parts, honestly, I did not get everything on over to my team in an adequate amount of time for all of those changes to be made with a high standard of excellence. So on Sunday night, rolling into Monday this week, I was doing some thinking and I realized, man, we could hit this deadline. Okay, we could technically hit the deadline. We could get all of the ads ready to go and published by, call it, end of day Monday. We can have the automations overall ready to go. There'd still need to be some changes that need to be made. We can have the sales page overall up to date, and it's still going to convert relatively well. We could have done it, and it could have been good, okay? But I knew that if we did it, if we held that deadline, there were going to be sacrifices made, okay? Sacrifice number one, if we hit that deadline, I knew for a fact my team was going to be unnecessarily stressed. Not just that Monday, they're going to be stressed literally the entire week because there was still going to be a lot of changes they need to be made even after the ads actually published. Sacrifice number two was that honestly, the team would have seen that I am okay with mediocrity. They would have seen that I am okay to push things out even when they're not perfect. And really, even though we'll probably never hit anything perfect, they would see that I'm okay with things that are significantly less than perfect, that they're simply good, even though we all know that we are capable of more. And sacrifice number three is, quite honestly, if we did it all good and it wasn't excellent, that sets a very scary standard that I'm not willing to put my name behind to our potential clients as well as our current clients. They are looking at these events that we host as kind of the creme de la creme, really the standard for like, hey, whatever he does, we need to be able to see that he's doing this well and he's doing exactly what he teaches us to do. And I was concerned that if we just launched it as good and there were still some messy, chaotic things that were going on, if that was able to be seen by either our current clients or our future clients, that creates a lot of distrust in the market. And I'm not okay with putting my name behind that. Now, obviously, when I lay out all those sacrifices, just kind of back to back to back, you're like, yeah, obviously, Zach, just go change the deadline, right? However, there's a sacrifice there as well. See, I've been on teams where the leader will tell everyone that they're going to hit a specific deadline, and the team can very quickly sense that that leader does not actually care about that deadline because they every single time they say a deadline, they end up changing it. They say, hey, we're going to launch things on, March 1st. And then as it starts to come on up, they go, hey, actually, we're not ready yet. We're going to launch it on this day. And then as they start to approach, they're like, hey, we're actually going to make these other changes. We should probably, delay it even further. And every single time they tell their team something, the team no longer trusts them because they see how often they change their mind. And there's a huge sacrifice there with your team, especially with a newer team. I mean, we've probably I'd say about half of our team have all been onboarded just in the last few months. And so this is a very pivotal spot in relationship and trust building for myself as a leader and showing them the type of leader that I am. So it comes back down to, do I sacrifice the level of excellence that I would like and say, no, we're hitting this deadline? Or do I sacrifice potential distrust with my team and move the deadline so that we can uphold a higher standard of excellence? So if you can't quite tell which decision I made, I'll go ahead and spoil it for you. I did decide to move the deadline, but now I want to explain why I chose that specific route, as well as how I handled it with the team. So firstly, for how I actually came to that conclusion, I had to first weigh out all the pros and cons of each direction that I could take. Direction number one, weigh out all the pros and cons of, what it looks like to hold that deadline. And direction number two, what are all the pros and cons of moving the deadline and upholding a higher standard of excellence? I already kind of walked you through what a lot of those pros and cons were earlier in this video, so no need to reiterate all those. But ultimately, the one thing that I haven't yet mentioned is how this was going to be perceived with my team and how I was able to come to this conclusion and really be okay with it and then also communicate it to them. So if I went that first route and I hit that deadline, that would have been great and all. And my team would have really respected me as a leader for being a man of my word. And we do what I say. We hit the deadlines that we set, no matter what standard of excellence is compromised in the meantime, which ultimately shows them that I care more about hitting a deadline than I care about good work being done. Now, working with speed and working with a high standard of excellence should be done at the same time, right? Like ideally, you do both. But in this specific situation, I knew that one or the other had to be sacrificed. And for me, it was way more important. I had way more on the line to actually uphold a high standard of excellence because my reputation's on the line, not just with my team, but all of our current clients, all of our future clients, as well as, quite honestly, like performance of the event. Obviously, these are not free events to hold. We're probably going to be spending around $100,000 in ads on this. And, I obviously wanted to perform the best that it could possibly perform. And also a benefit in the fact that I would be changing the deadline shows my team that I actually really deeply care about their work, I would say work-life balance, or more so just the workload on their plate. So for how I actually communicated this with the team and made sure that we were on the same page with everyone, I went into our team meeting on Monday afternoon, and I pretty much just opened up and said, "Hey guys, look, admittedly, I was toying between a tough decision today. I had the decision to be the leader that upholds strict deadlines and, make sure that you guys see me as that person that, the deadline is the thing that matters most. And I want to be a man of my word. And that is important to me because I don't want to create distrust with you guys by, going back on my word. And the other route that I'm debating between everyone is that, I become the leader for you all that you guys don't really trust. You don't trust my word because you see that I go back on it on a regular basis. And I don't want that. But ultimately, for me, in this moment, I'd rather you guys not trust the deadlines that I say that I'm going to hit if that means that we're going to have a higher standard of excellence, because I never want us to put our names on anything that we can't proudly stand behind. Now, when I communicated this with the team, they fully understood. And I think, honestly, every single one of them would have done the exact same thing because we all have very similar values of upholding high standards of excellence. And I don't quite know how to put this one into words, but you could sense that after I told everyone the decision we were making and why we were making it, this relief came off their shoulders. And not just because, sure, their workload was going to be a little bit more manageable for the next week. They weren't going to be so stressed. But you could also almost sense that I probably created more trust with them because I showed them what I was debating between. I showed them that it was actually really important to me for both of those values were extremely important to me. But then when I specifically said, hey, this is why we're doing it, you could sense that they almost trusted me even that much more. And this might sound really weird, especially if I have any team members watching this right now. But, if I do have a team member watching it, feel free to comment, let the people know in the comments if I'm wrong on this. But it almost felt like people were saying, this is why we're here. We can sense that this is the environment we want to be. We would much rather prioritize high standards of excellence and put our names on things that we could truly stand behind rather than just trying to rush something just for a week earlier deadline. So action items on your all's end, right? I have no idea what decision you may be currently faced with or what may come around the corner, next week, next month, next year, etc. But just want to remind you that number one, there will almost always be, it's inevitable that you will be faced with an opportunity where you have to choose between one value that you hold to be important and another. And when faced with those decisions, this is not some moral dilemma that you can't get out of, okay? You just have to choose one or the other. And the easiest place to start is by actually just weighing out the pros and the cons of each decision and what are the ripple effects of each decision. Obviously, I can't tell you which decision to make. You will only know for your specific situation when that time comes. And the last part I think is important to mention is that as a leader, once you make that decision, if there are more people that are affected by this decision other than just yourself, it's important that you communicate to them what the dilemma was and really what your rationale was behind making the decision that you made. It helps them understand who you are more as a leader. It helps them trust you more as a leader, and also helps them understand really what decisions they should make if they're ever faced with the same sort of a situation on their own workload. Because typically, when you're leading people, they usually want to operate in a way that pleases you and that is aligned with the way that you would want to operate, assuming that obviously workplace culture is healthy and that they still respect you as a leader, of course. Anyway, I hope this helps with what would otherwise be a very emotional decision for you and helps to honestly just kind of put your logical brain back in place and helps you to make a more logical driven decision that's really going to bring a little bit more peace back into your life. And also, shameless plug, if you'd like to see what that virtual event is that we're going to be hosting and you'd like to actually be a part of all this, here in February, depending on when you're watching it, I would invite you, check out the link in the description. It should be right there just below this video if you're watching it on YouTube. But if not, just go to paideventsecrets.com and tickets should be available for you. They're a whopping $7, and we will be teaching you all about the model that we're using ourselves to actually host virtual events that enroll perfect, ideal, high-ticket clients. And before we go, I'd like to invite you, if you're new to the channel and you got value from today's video, go ahead and invite you, hit subscribe, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening to it on Spotify, Apple, etc., etc. We have 2 videos or 2 episodes that we release every single week, every Tuesday and Friday. Tuesdays are very tactical, strategic-driven episodes where we are talking about lessons that you could apply into your business that will actually help you to elevate yourself as a leader, make more money, and ideally be able to multiply a business in a way that God would intend. And every Friday, we have episodes where I like to call them Faithful Word Fridays. These are where we actually will unpack some scripture directly from the Bible, good old Bible. Yes, that's the book for me, right? We'll take some scripture and we'll actually talk about how that can apply to your position as a leader, to how to create better offers, to how to continue to grow your business, whether it's marketing, sales, or just in general business stewardship. What does the Bible have to talk about business stewardship and building a business that is in alignment with what God would want? So if those sound like they would tickle your fancy and they're a little bit more up your alley, once again, I invite you, hit that subscribe button, turn the notifications on, and once again, we'll be seeing you every week, twice a week. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome on back. We always love having you here. You're always welcome. And honestly, you are what fuels the channel and continues to be able to grow this message, grow the impact that we're trying to have here. And honestly, one of the best ways that you can help the channel out, and not even just, who cares about helping the channel out? Who cares about helping me out? Do this for your own network. Is I always say one of the best ways to love on your community and, show someone that you want to love on them is provide value to them. Share a valuable resource to someone that truly needs it in that moment. And so whether that's a colleague, a friend of yours that's in a mastermind that you're in, maybe it's a neighbor, a family member, someone that that's a marketplace mover and shaker, they're a leader in the marketplace, and they'd get some value out of this, share this with them. Okay. Once again, you never know truly how much of an impact that you're going to be able to have on someone's life just by sharing them a little nugget of wisdom. It doesn't really take you much, but it sure can just bless their day. And lastly, we're going to have a little bit of fun with this one. This is something I've literally never offered before. I don't think so, at least, which is if you'd like to be featured in an upcoming episode and you'd actually like some free publicity for your business, and you'd also like to maybe get a little bit of help, whether if there's a sticky point and maybe it's your offer creation and your offers just aren't selling very well, or maybe there's a sticky point in how do you get more leads or booked calls on your calendar, or a sticky point in hiring, whether it's salespeople or some sort of operations within the business. If you have some sticky point that you would like my insight on, drop your business name and or website below. Feel free. Also, I'd probably encourage you to leave your Instagram in that same comment as well. So that way I can actually DM you on Instagram. And, if I need some context on it, I'd be happy to ask you for context so that in a future episode, I would love to actually not just shout you out and get you actually some free publicity for your business, but also be able to speak into that kind of sticky point and be able to help you solve whatever the bottleneck is so that you could continue to steward your business well. So once again, I invite you, if you're watching this on YouTube, go drop that comment. Let me know business name or website. Drop your Instagram as well, and also what that sticky point is that you'd like me to speak into. Well, that's about all we have for today's episode. Always a pleasure hanging out with y'all. Cannot wait to see you in the next episode. Once again, assuming you're subscribed. And if not, regardless, I wish you the best. I want you to continue to multiply your business. Till next time, peace.